Thanks, Chair. We can begin.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Fiona. Good evening, everyone. The first thing we do is introduce ourselves. I am Councillor Jean Adamo. I Haringey Ward, and I chair the licensing subcommittee. Can I ask the members first to introduce themselves?
I'm Councillor Viv Ross, Fortis Green Ward.
I'm Councillor Barbara Blake, Seven Sisters Ward.
Thank you. And the officers, please. Who wants to start here?
I'm Daly Barrett. I'm the licensing team leader.
And then we'll have our legal advisors.
I'm Rachel Bonus, the legal advisor.
Thank you.
And I'm Michelle Williams. I'm observing tonight from legal.
Ah, okay, excellent. Thank you. And right, and of course Fiona is our clerk. She already introduced herself. Can I ask the rest of the licensing authority officer to introduce herself?
Apologies for the licensing authority responsible authority officer who's not here this evening, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And then I will ask the people who are here to object. I understand Kate Stevens is not here. Is Paula here or supported by Jane?
They are in the meeting room, Chair. If you can hear, you might just have to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Paula Dixon present with my support advisor, Ms. Gotley, as well.
Okay, thank you. Who else is here? Is Isabel here?
So, Chair, I believe the only other two parties are the applicant and their legal advisor.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you very much. Then the applicants, please introduce yourselves.
Good evening, Madam. It's Robert Sutherland. I'm representing the applicant for the licence, Mr. Alper Oztaskin. He's also present. We're actually in the same room, but we're a little bit apart, but we're in the same place.
Thank you. I could see him. Mr. Appen, you want to say anything? You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Alper Oztaskin.
Okay. Thank you very much and welcome. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available for public viewing. Apologies for absence. I don't think we have any. Fiona?
No apologies, Chair.
Thank you. Urgent business? Again?
No urgent business.
Thank you. Any declaration of interest? No, it doesn't seem so. Okay. The procedure for the meeting has been emailed to all participants by the clerk. For the purpose of any members of the public watching, we will first hear from the licensing officer. After that, the objectors will present their case, and the committee and applicants will have the opportunity to ask questions. Then the applicant will present their application, and the committee and objectors will have the opportunity to ask questions. All parties will then have the opportunity to sum up, and then the meeting will conclude to allow the committee to deliberate and reach a decision. This decision will then be provided in writing within 5 working days of this meeting. Now, I will ask the officer, the licensing officer, when you are ready, Mrs. Burnett, sorry, you can start. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, can I just clarify, please? I noticed we've got a Simon Allen. I can't see the whole name, I'm afraid.
I can't see.
Sorry to interrupt. So that's just an observer to the meeting, so he won't be.
Okay. I can't see all the people, I'm afraid. Fiona is.
And also, I should probably just mention. Sorry, I forgot to at the beginning. Nazir Chowdhury is just observing, but is also a clerk, so member of staff.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So, Chair, the panel have before them this evening an application for Alp Cafe at 42A to 44 Park Road, London N8. The application is submitted by Alper Oztaskin and he's seeking the supply of alcohol Monday to Sunday, 10 a.m. to 22:30, and with and hours open to the public Monday to Sunday, 7 a.m. to 2300. Also seeking the ability to do off sales with food delivery until 11 p.m. And so just to correct there, the supply of alcohol is for both. It's for both on and off the premises. Chair, during the consultation period, we did receive a number of representations from residents and also from the licensing authority, and those are attached in the pack at Appendix B for the licensing authority representation and Appendix C for residents' representations. In considering the matter, obviously the subcommittee is aware that once they've heard from all the parties, in terms of taking this matter forward, it may decide to grant the application as requested or grant the application whilst imposing additional conditions and or altering the proposed operating schedule, exclude any licence for activities from the application or reject the whole or part of the application. Members are reminded, of course, to give clear and cogent reasons for any of the above steps taken. In terms of the background information on this matter, the premises is situated along Park Road N8 and shares a rear courtyard with residential properties. The use of the premises as a cafe is lawful, and planning advised there are no conditioned hours at the address. The first floor flats access is through the rear courtyard, and they have no other access. We've checked on land registry, it does confirm that it is a shared courtyard, and sorry Chair, that should actually read, so it would not be acceptable to have anyone other than staff in the rear courtyard from the business at that point. Chair, if you look at the application itself, you will note that there are in fact two plans within the pack. The simple explanation being that the plan on page 23 was what was originally submitted with the application, and the plan on page 27 is the revised plan following the consultation period when Mr. Oztaskin considered the representations that had been submitted and made changes to the layout. And you can see on page 25 the reasons there that they've put forward in an explanation as to some of the concerns that residents had raised during the consultation period. So you now have on page 27 on the plan that what was going to be the toilet at the rear is no longer going. That's not going to be the case. Toilet has been moved to inside the property, and that unit at the rear is in fact going to be used for storage, is what the applicant is saying. Chair, throughout you've got section 3, the rest of the licensing policy matters, which I know you are familiar with, so I won't run through them. In terms of you've got there at section 4 also, Chair, the licensing hours, that paragraph on the proposed licensing hours and the way that we think that it should be viewed, Chair. In terms of the representations received, the licensing authority's representation that's been submitted does speak about the toilet situation and that rear access, which obviously the applicant has now mitigated for. The issue around the delivery also, the licensing authority had said it was not clear how the deliveries will be undertaken. Again, Mr. Oztaskin has clarified that deliveries will be done through third-party delivery operators, with them using the front of the premises, the Park Road entrance, for picking up deliveries and so forth. Chair, in Appendix C, the residents' representations have all very similar really concerns, and again it was around the use of the rear of the property, concerns relating to noise, potential safety issues as well that have also been raised. There's also been raised in the representations something that we see come up a number of times when it's off sales and delivery and online delivery matters, is idling vehicles, noise, potentially noise from that, and any increase in activity and late night noise in a residential area as a result of that type of operation, Chair. Chair, just to finish off, that there are the other considerations for the authority would be the Section 17 of the Crime and Disorder Act, and of course the Human Rights Act, Chair. And Chair, there I can leave if you have any questions for me.
Yeah, thank you very much. I personally don't have any questions. As always, your report is very clear. I think Councillor Vibros has questions.
Not sure if this is one for you, Ms Barrett, or for legal, but you said the toilet is going to be moved. Can I ask, do we know if it has been moved yet? And if it hasn't, when it's likely to be moved? And can we, this is a sort of a legal question, were we minded to allow the licence, could we delay that until such time as the toilet has been relocated?
Okay, so Mr. Sutherland will probably need to give you an update on that particular aspect. Obviously, we've just had the plan through to say that this is what they were prepared to do, but Mr. Sutherland is able to speak to that when he speaks to you later.
Yeah.
Okay, and my question, can we delay any start date of the licence? Were we minded to approve it?
But I'll go to legal for that one.
Yeah, I was just going to say that we can ask our legal advisor later on. Any other questions?
That's it, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor, any questions?
No questions, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can I ask if the applicant has any questions for the officer?
No questions, Madam.
Thank you. And the objectors, I think we only have one objector with us. That's Paula. Any questions?
Hello, I actually do have a host of questions. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you to Ms Barrett for summing up. And the first question I would like to ask is, has anybody actually visited the site in order to understand the impact that such a business being operated for so many hours would have upon me personally, upon other neighbours? But my proximity is uncommon in its nature, and I just wonder if anybody has. I appreciate you have the plans, but if anybody has actually or intends to visit before any decisions are made.
I don't know.
The licensing, the licensing enforcement officer is not here, but yes, the licensing enforcement officer did go to have a look at the area and the actual location of the premises. Yes.
Okay, I mean, from the rear, you get obviously some idea, but to gain entry to my home would give a rather more comprehensive idea of the impact that it has. I've already been impacted by by works that have been going on there with the noise and activity that would be exacerbated through the hours of the business operating and the nature of the business proposed. Every room in my home.
Paula, you will have a chance to later ask your questions and do a presentation. And now can we concentrate if you have any questions on the officer's report, the licensing officer?
Sorry, there is
so-
one question pertinent to the background that Dahlia has just raised. In that background, it says the first floor flats access. I'm just curious as to where these first floor flats are. Paula lives in a 2-storey house.
Right. So that was from the planning officer's response back to the licensing authority, where they have referred to first floor flats at the rear.
Well, that raises quite a lot of concerns, Dahlia, because they aren't first floor flats. So if they've got that wrong, you know, it doesn't leave us with a tremendous amount of confidence as to what is right.
Okay,
Thank you for that. I can certainly feed that back.
Thank you.
Can I just point out, please, that the proposed conditions after visiting the premises, that the licensing authority's proposed condition was that the use of the rear courtyard shall be by staff only, and further asking that staff should not congregate or loiter in the rear courtyard after 21 hours, which is what has been put forward.
Yes, I did read that. That in itself would have impact on us, and I am wondering about soundproofing and thermal and fire insulation.
Okay, again, those matters Mr. Sutherland will probably be able to address on his client.
And any smells, as other neighbours have raised, you know, the probability of cooking smells emanating.
You can ask those questions to the applicants when they present their the application, Paula. Can I ask Councillor Blake and then Councillor Vibros, yeah? Do you have any further questions?
Well, just to say, Madam Chair, the moment's passed, but I did walk past this premises, but I did it not officially. I usually try to go and have a look at all of the premises, and I did walk by and have a look. That was just on my own, you know, my own initiative.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, was that walking by at the front or actually observing the situation at the rear, where my access is?
Just walking at the front.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, as you'll appreciate from the plans, that doesn't.
Do you? I hate to interrupt you, Paula, but you have you have to go through the chair, and you can't just ask questions. Okay, Councillor Viv.
I was just going to ask, and maybe this is a question for the applicant. What's the premises used for at the moment? It's not a restaurant at the moment, is it?
Again, you can ask you have 3 questions, I think, for the applicant, which will come to soon.
Okay.
I think if I read it correct, I thought the shop was empty, but I may be wrong.
Chair, can I just reiterate that planning have advised that the premises has lawful use as a cafe, so you know it's not going to be you know that there was no need for any change of anything to be applied for with planning. So okay, so they're starting off from a position of it already having established use, lawful use as a cafe.
Okay. Can I ask the applicant if they have any questions or anything to clarify from the report from the officer?
I don't have any questions, Madam. I've noted down the questions which have been raised by Councillor Ross and also by Ms Dixon, and will address those in my presentation in order to assist.
Thank you very much. Now we come to the objectors, and the licensing authority office is not here, so we only have Paula. Paula, this is your chance to speak and raise whatever concerns you may have.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My good health is suffering already. You know, I've had to see the doctor, and the doctor agrees with me that my health, or failing good health, is as a direct result of what I am and what I anticipate having to endure if this business is allowed to proceed for the hours. It actually makes my home, it's unacceptable as a residential home to have to endure what I will inevitably endure throughout those hours, 7 days a week. Currently, there is no soundproofing. Every room in my house is affected, is either above or beside the business, and it just has an uncommon impact. It's uncommon. I don't know how else to describe it. And on occasion, I work nights, which means that I need to sleep in the day. My son leaves for work very early in the morning, which means he needs to go to bed very early at night. Our sleep would be interrupted inevitably by the nature of that proposed business.
Madam Chairman, may I also speak on Paula's behalf?
Yes, yes.
My name's Jane Gote. I'm sorry, I didn't
No, that's fine.
introduce myself earlier, and I'm just here to support Paula, because I think, as you can hear, Paula is extremely distressed by the whole situation. Her living accommodation has been made uninhabitable, and she has actually had to go out into temporary accommodation for a minimum of 3 weeks because of the direct consequences of the building works that have been going on underneath her property. She has been without water for 3 weeks, and she has also been without electricity. Thankfully, that was resolved very quickly. Yeah, as she said, her doctor has diagnosed her with depression as a direct result of this situation. The sort of points and questions specific to the objection would say that the application is absolutely pushing the boundaries of a cafe. The hours are just inside those requiring a late night refreshment license. And I mean, I have a question. I don't have legal knowledge, but you know, what is the definition of a cafe? It doesn't seem to be usual that a cafe supplies off sales, and it seems unusually long hours for a cafe. Yeah, I mean, we have more questions, but I think the objections still run on, even though the outside toilet has been said that it's going to be changed to a storage unit, and I think one of the councillors has indicated that it's still a toilet, and I think Paula can confirm that it is still used by the builders, but that is going to become a storage unit. So it means that there will be quite a lot of access in that the shared private courtyard, which, if you haven't been to Paula's residence, I can only reiterate, I can stand at her front door, put my right arm out and touch their fire exit. And on the plans, the fire exit is actually shown as blocking her front door. So I do not see how that can be legal. That's probably, rather than have any sort of, I think the other things we want to raise are specific questions, which I suspect, as you pointed out, does already need to be raised further on in the process. Thank you.
And if I may just highlight, our privacy will be non-existent.
Okay. Thank you. I will take questions from members. Can I ask about you have access to your flat from the back, obviously from the alley where the toilet is. And in your letter, you talked about 6 inches between your front door. Is that your front door and the exit door? Or is it your front door and any other? Could you explain further?
That's excuse me, that's correct. So my front door is the only access we have to our home, and when the cafes or the proposed cafes doors are open, it overlaps my access by some inches that I can't.
That's the current configuration, because the door is a split door. It splits down the middle rather than having hinges on one side. It has hinges down both sides, and so both halves of the door open outwards. So with half the door, Paula's door is covered by
obstructed.
Is 6 inches. With a full door, as is shown on the plans, her front door is completely obstructed.
Those doors originally, that building, the doors accessed a storage room, hence the doors open outward into the yard. This is the proposed cafe's doors. Their fire exit open outwards into the yard, not inwards into the property as an access door ordinarily would.
Can I ask, how many, if you know the answer to this, are they, I assume other residents who live there, they're using the same?
No.
No.
Only myself
only
shares that courtyard access with the unit.
Okay, thank you.
But other flats overlook the courtyard.
Thank you. I'll take questions from members if you have any.
Yes, Chair, if I may. So I'm looking on the plan on page 27, and we were just talking about those doors which are next to the kitchen and prep. So that door goes into Paula Dixon's house or flat, which is that the rest of the building? Is the residence, does it cover the whole of that? The whole of the premises is my question. And when you go in your front door, I presume you go upstairs.
Well, I enter into our kitchen first and foremost. So it is the kitchen on the ground floor that overlooks the yard, and from where sorry, I'm lost. Yes, enter into the kitchen, and then I have a hallway into an office space which runs alongside the unit, the proposed cafe unit, and then upstairs.
And then you've got the stairs,
to bedrooms, sitting room, and bathroom. So the bedroom and sitting room are directly above, one bedroom and sitting room are directly above the business, and the other bedroom is above the kitchen overlooking the forecourt.
Okay, thanks for that.
Thank you. Any, Barbara, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So, Ms. Dixon, is you say the bedrooms and the bedroom and the sitting room, are they directly opposite? Directly above?
They are.
These premises. So there's your living room, bedroom, and then straight downstairs is this restaurant. Is that correct?
Sorry, repeat that question.
So your sitting room and the bedroom is directly above the.
It is. If you refer to the plan, you may be able to ascertain from that yes, directly above the business premises is our sitting room and one of our bedrooms, and my hallway and office space runs directly alongside the business. So as I enter into the kitchen, then the hallway opens up into like a small office space, and then upstairs to the rest of the house.
Okay, thank you. That's all from me, Chair. Thank you for now.
Thank you. If there are no more questions from members, I will ask the applicant if you do have any questions at all.
Madam, if I could just ask one question, just in relation to the doors, because I think there's a mistake on the plan that I've got in front of me. The doors which I think you've described as being split down the middle, those doors have been like that for how many years?
Since I have lived here, which is so 26 years.
And the businesses that were in the premises that is the subject of the application, that's been a business premises for all the time that you've been present, I'm guessing?
It has, yes.
If the doors remain as they are now and have been for 20 years, does that assist you?
Well, the doors were never opened throughout the time. They were sealed. Originally, it was a storage space, and there was a taxi cab office who had that for storage space, and then a furniture shop who did open it up, and they did for a period open the doors, and there is much record to my objection on that occasion.
I've got no further questions, Hannah.
Thank you. I think we move on now, as there are no more questions to the applicant. Would you like to present your obligation, please?
Madam, yes. Before starting, can I just say that, can I apologise to the committee and also anyone who's watching, in that obviously I'm on a camera which is situated on a laptop, and I have papers all around the laptop, and it may be that it looks as though I am being rude and not addressing my comments to the committee members, and if you get the side of my head, please accept my apologies. There's no disrespect intended. It's my own foibles and failures in trying to deal with remote hearings. So please accept those apologies.
We're all in the same position with papers.
Thank you, Madam. We are indeed. In relation to the plan, may I start at the plan? The plan that we are looking to use, obviously, is page 27, with the toilet shown inside of the building. As Miss Dixon has mentioned, the doors which lead from the kitchen into what's marked as the garden or courtyard, I think it's been referred to as, they are in fact split leaf doors, and there is in fact no intention of changing those doors. So I will and can provide a corrected plan should the committee grant the licence, which will show those doors as unchanged and as they currently are. In respect of the intention, as has been said by Ms Barrett, your licensing officer, that the premises has planning permission to operate as a cafe without restriction in relation to times. What's proposed here, what this application deals with, is only in relation to the sale of alcohol. Nothing else that is taking place at the premises is licensable. In respect of the representations that have been made, before looking at Ms. Dixon's representation, what I wanted to address were the conditions which were proposed by the licensing enforcement officer and are at pages 31 and 32 of your bundle. In fact, they're at the bottom. They start at the bottom of page 31. And Ms. Barrett, I think, has already referred to one of the conditions, which is in relation to the use of the rear courtyard shall be by staff only. And that condition is agreed. In relation to the next condition, I would propose to amend that condition so that it reads that staff will not congregate, loiter, or smoke in the rear courtyard. Full stop. So not after 2100, but at all times, the staff will not congregate, loiter, or smoke in the rear courtyard. Full stop. The remaining conditions which are proposed are all agreed. And should the committee grant the license, then of course those conditions would go on to any license that would be granted. In addition, what is also proposed is a following condition, which the premises, as I've indicated to you, are shown at in relation to the plan, which is at page 27. You'll see that the tables, it's set out with tables and chairs throughout, and the number of covers, which is marked there of 18, is the table layout which the premises will operate with. I would propose an additional condition that should the committee grant the license, that is the following wording: that alcohol will only be supplied for consumption on the premises to persons seated at a table by waiting staff. So that would require the premises to operate in the manner that is shown on the plan, and that there wouldn't be any person standing. One wouldn't expect it in a cafe, but all customers would be seated, and the maximum, obviously, number of seats is 18. That deals with the modifications to the application and additional conditions which are proposed. The intention is that the premises would operate as a cafe with the ability for customers to purchase cakes and sandwiches, light cooking, toasted sandwiches, that type of food, and as well as that would also be able to purchase alcoholic drinks and non-alcoholic drinks to accompany the food that they would purchase. There would also be cold platters, quiches, that type of thing, to give you an idea of the type of food that would be on offer. The intention, very much, as I say, is that it's food-led. The conditions which I've just proposed would focus on that. The objections which have been raised predominantly deal with the issue of the use of the rear area, the yard, garden, and we've covered that through the two conditions which I'm proposing are amended and tightened, I think, in relation to the use of the garden, which proposed by the licensing officer. By granting the license and imposing those conditions, it's my submission that you would be promoting the licensing objectives and would be addressing the issues which are raised by the licensing authority and also predominantly by the objectors. The additional point which is raised in respect of noise pollution, which is Ms. Dixon's representation at page 41. There's the reference to the toilet, I believe, is the reference to the toilet that has historically been at the building and remains at the building at the moment. That toilet will be removed in due course and obviously will become a storeroom. In relation to the soundproofing, the premises was acquired, I believe the landlord, and I may be wrong, but I understand the landlord of the premises is actually the council. We've acquired the lease from the council and we've carried out certain works in relation to the premises. At the moment, the premises are empty, but are in the process of being converted, obviously, to operate as the cafe. It's expected that those works, it's hoped that those works will be completed during November, and that the premises would look to open and operate from towards the end of November. As part of those works which have been carried out at the premises, the works have included works to do with fire proofing and also soundproofing. And I understand that certain works were agreed in relation to the works that needed to be carried out. They were agreed with building control. All of those works have been completed in accordance with the agreement with building control. And I understand that building control have signed off those works or in the process of signing off those works, as I understand it. It's on that basis that I would submit that this application can be granted. And I think Councillor Ross raised the issue in relation to when will the WC be moved. What I would say in relation to that, I think there's then another question in relation to the granting of the licence. It is possible to grant a licence with a works condition on it, and I know that some committees around the country do. What I would invite the council to do, because it's a requirement of the licence, of course, that the premises are completed and operate in accordance with the plan which is attached to the licence. That plan at the moment is at page 27. I will need to submit a corrected plan which deals with the fire exit doors to show that they are correct. But that plan forms part of the licence. If the licence holder operates in a manner where the premises do not reflect the plan which is attached to the licence, then I've certainly been aware, I think, of cases within Haringey where the local authority have prosecuted individuals for providing or carrying out a licensable activity otherwise than in accordance with the premises licence. Not all local authorities do, but I'm aware, I think, of a case in Haringey where that has happened. And so what I would submit to the committee is that until the premises is completed in the manner that it's shown on the plan, then we wouldn't be able to use the licence. If the committee members require greater certainty over the indication or completion, the moving of that toilet indoors, then it would be possible to have a works condition that the premises couldn't be used until it's been until the works have been signed off by the licensing officer or by the environmental health officer at the authority to say that the premises has been completed in accordance with the plan which is attached to the license, should the committee grant the license. So that's what I would say in relation to those points. Hopefully they address the points that Councillor Ross has raised, and can assure the committee that obviously we need to complete the premises in accordance with the plan that's approved. In respect, I think that addresses all the questions. If I've missed something in relation to the questions, then please forgive me. But if you remind me what it is that I've missed, I'm sure I'll be able to cover it. But I think I've addressed all the points which are raised. If you just bear with me a second, I'll just check whether the applicant wishes me just to raise anything further. Thank you, Madam. Unless there's further questions, I don't have anything to add at this moment.
Thank you. Are there any questions from members first? Right, Rachel is, do you want to speak? Is our advisor, legal advisor?
Oh yes, thank you, Chair. I only wanted to say that, to sort of in the same vein as Mr Sutherland has just outlined, that if the committee were minded to grant a licence in this matter, it would be open to them to add a condition to the licence in relation to the WC being moved. Just wanted to confirm that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Blake and then Councillor Viv.
Thank you, Chair. Mr Sutherland, could I just ask about the fire exit? So Ms Dixon says that she can touch the fire exit, and that it actually blocks her front door. I mean, is there? I mean, surely that isn't safe for either parties if it's such a narrow space that the fire exit is blocking a private resident's front door. Could you answer that one, please? And also the alleyway. I mean, you have said that staff, I mean, more or less what you've said, if I'm right, is that the rear courtyard staff will not be using it other than to walk to the storeroom and come back. So what about the alleyway? If they can't use the courtyard, will they be standing in the alleyway and congregating there? That's it for the moment. Thank you.
Madam, in relation to the fire escape, I think what's intended, and my apologies because it isn't shown on the plan, is that that door will not change. And as has been indicated by Ms Dixon, it's been like that for at least 20 years. In respect of the fire regulations, obviously one of the consultees of premises license application, the fire authority. The fire authority can and do on occasions make representations in respect of applications. There's no representation in respect of this particular one. Generally, what the fire authority will rely upon is the fire safety deregulation order, which gives them power and authority to require a fire risk assessment to be completed. And if there are issues or problems which are raised by or covered by that fire risk assessment, then it's possible that they can require additional works to be carried out. Now, in this particular case, Madam, there's nothing has been raised or identified from the applicant's fire risk assessment Nothing has been raised by the fire authority. It's going slightly out of my comfort zone. There may be issues in relation to the landlord, who I'm anticipating is probably common to both premises, but that's the local authority. And there may be issues concerning about the use of the premises or how this has come about. But it's not an area that I'm comfortable on addressing you. And I think I'm probably going to say that it's outside really of the remit of this particular licensing authority. What I would do, because obviously there is a safety issue, I will raise it with my client to review the fire risk assessment and make sure that from the fire risk assessment point of view, that we are doing everything and taking into account everything that we should be taking into account. But it's possible that this issue, which has carried on for some time, it may not be an issue which can be resolved by my client. It may need to be resolved possibly by the landlord. That, I think, deals with the fire escape. In respect of the use of the rear yard, you make a very good point. And I have to say it wasn't something which had crossed my mind, or indeed possibly the licensing officer's mind in relation to the alleyway. The alleyway only serves as an access to our property and obviously the other properties that have been referred to. It would not be our intention to move staff who may be loitering or smoking. It wouldn't be our intention to move them from that garden into that alleyway. So if it assists the committee, that the wording of that particular condition could be amended to include the use of the rear alleyway leading to that courtyard. We wouldn't have a difficulty or any objection to that. As I say, it wasn't something which had actually crossed my mind, but I do think it's a valid point that's raised.
Thank you. Councillor Viv?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Sutherland, I've looked through the application, and the only reference I can see to off sales is the fact that you are asking for on and off sales. And yet in all the representation letters, talking about third-party delivery drivers and the use of mopeds and that sort of thing. So are you intending to use companies like Deliveroo to deliver food and alcohol?
Sir, I think this is covered in the email response which Ms. Barrett referred to. I'm just trying to turn up the particular page. It resulted, of course, in the change to the plan. And I believe, thank you, I appreciate that. It's page 25, sir. And I think it's clear from that the intention is that we would be using, I think it's Deliveroo, I think is the preferred one at the moment, but obviously that needs to be finalised. I think the situation or the concern was that if we were using our own drivers, that they would be hanging around the premises. And I think what my understanding is that a person will only come up and pick up a food order with or without alcohol, would only pick up that food order once it's been placed on the app or online, and they will come to the premises. They will access the premises through the front door. That's the only means of access to the premises. And they will pick up the order and leave through the front door. That's the intended operation. So.
Okay, thank you. So that begs the question: where will the driver park their their moped, because it's double yellow lines along Park Road, and motorcycles are not allowed in New Road. So, and then obviously not allowed on the pavement. So, how will, in practical terms, how will that work?
I think so. I think vehicles are allowed into New Road. I may be wrong, but I think vehicles are allowed. What they're not allowed, I think, is to access Park Road from New Road. I think there's bicycles, but not motorcycles or motor vehicle traffic. So that's an operational issue. They will obviously have to park legally. If and they may, because I know that they do come by bicycle. That's also a possibility, sir. In a sense, the issue in respect of the parking, obviously they need to park lawfully, because if they don't, then they will receive tickets for parking illegally. So they have to obey the law.
Yeah, I've just re-looked. I looked on Google. I didn't visit the premises myself, but I looked on Google Maps, and there is a sign that says you can't go from Park Road into New Road, but there are cars. Yeah, so they could come the other way. They could come the other way. Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Rachel, you want to come back? Your hand is up. But,
Oh, sorry, that's a legacy hand.
okay.
Apologies.
Okay. Is there any more questions from members? No.
Not from me, no.
I had a couple of questions, but I think they've been covered by my colleagues. So I will ask Paula, the objector, if she, do you have any questions?
I think she does, Chair. Paula,
Okay,
you're on.
I can't see her and I can't hear her, so okay.
Sorry, we were muted.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Don't worry. When you're ready.
Thank you. I do have a number of questions, and my support advisor will speak on my behalf momentarily. Firstly, though, I'm confused about the soundproofing. I think it was said that that soundproofing had been cleared by building control. However, I also believe that building control said that there was no obligation for soundproofing. So my question is there to be any soundproofing installed?
Can you hear us?
Sorry, yes, I can, and my apologies. I was just checking that I was right in relation to soundproofing being installed. My apologies, because it did take me a bit of time to respond. My understanding is that soundproofing has been installed. If there is an issue in relation to noise from the premises, which we say there shouldn't be, then we can certainly investigate with regards to any acoustician who could look into it. But we think that the soundproofing that has been carried out should address the operational noise within the premises.
Well, at the moment, Paula can hear everything that is going on when she's in her living room. She can hear conversations that are being conducted in the room beneath her, which is going to become the body of the cafe, where there are going to be up to 18 people seated and potentially drinking alcohol. Now, we all know that alcohol leads to an increase in volume. So the noise is only going to get louder. So why cannot increased soundproofing be considered at this point? I mean, the other question, I mean, the noise is heard throughout her premises, you know, but the bit that's directly over the cafe, I mean, and her hallway abuts onto which is going to be the specific cafe.
In respect of the soundproofing, my understanding is that soundproofing has been installed. I think that if it hasn't been addressed, then it is obviously something that we will need to look at again and see what the problem is, so that we can see whether we can address it further.
Okay. The next question was regarding the fire access doors. Can I ask which plan was submitted to the Fire Risk Authority? Was it the plan that shows the full door blocking Paula's access to her house?
The plan that would have been submitted as part of the application is the plan at page 23, which shows the full door and also shows the external WC.
Right. My concern there then is if the Fire Risk Authority could see that the unit's fire exit door completely blocked Paula's exit and raised no objection to that and did not consider that to be a risk. How can that be right?
I can't
answer. No, yeah, sorry, it may not necessarily be your.
But the issue, I think I would respond in this way, is that what is required, obviously, is that there is a fire risk assessment. Certainly, that door is not changing and it will remain as is at the moment, and therefore won't be blocking the entrance.
Well, it won't be blocking it quite as much. There will still be some obstruction.
It will continue in the same way that it's been for the past 20 years, and obviously they will need to look at whether there's any additional steps that need to be taken into account from a fire risk assessment point of view, and that's what I've indicated that they will do, because that's obviously important that they do it. Sorry,
I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Yes, I mean, I think.
Do you have any more questions, Jane?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Sutherland, you indicated that the cafe was going to be serving the kind of food like cakes and sandwiches and light sandwiches and that kind of thing. And I was just curious as to who was going to be buying alcohol to drink with that kind of food. It's not the usual kind of food that you buy. You don't usually sit down with a glass of wine with a piece of cake.
This may reflect on me, but I think I often do. But that may reflect on me more than anyone else.
Maybe that's my bias then. It just seemed a little strange to me.
But let's be fair, Jane. I don't think he can answer those.
All right. Questions. Okay. All right. So the questions I could ask then is, will members of the public be able to enter the premises and buy food and alcohol to take away, or will it just be these delivery drivers on wheels?
The operation will be that people will be able to buy food, and that the alcohol it can be purchased, but only with the food. So that would apply both on the premises and potentially to take away from the premises, so that they can eat it in their own home, as well as delivery service.
Okay. So how is that not a takeaway operation?
I'm not sure I understand the question, but let me answer it as best as I think I can. In relation to the, I think the question is probably focusing on a planning concept. If I may be wrong, and it may be that you're not focusing on that, but I think it's a planning concept. For the purposes of the license, the premises operation is lawful, and what we are looking to do for the purposes of this application is is add the ability to sell the alcohol with the food that we can lawfully provide and sell, which would include the ability for people to come in and purchase food and take it home.
Yes, I'm still trying to get a definition of what a cafe is, I think.
Okay. Can we, do you have any others? Dalia.
Sorry, Chair, I was going to say that maybe we don't need to be caught up or hooked on that particular aspect. I mean, the Licensing Act is there to enable anybody who's operating their business and wishes to offer licensed activities from that. They are able to put in this application and go through the process, which is what we're doing here, really. You know, if they're running their business, they're operating a cafe, restaurant, bar, whatever it is, and they want to be able to add alcohol to that, then this is the process that they are required to go through by law.
Okay.
May I ask a follow-up question, Madam Chairman?
Sorry?
May I ask a follow-up question?
Go on.
A quick one. Sorry, Dahlia. Yes, I don't really understand the definitions, but are you saying that were this premises to be a cafe or a takeaway or a public house, it would go through the same licensing requirements?
That's correct, yes.
Right, okay, I wasn't, yeah, thank you for clarifying that.
Okay. If you don't have any more questions, do you have any more? I wanted to make sure that you ask your questions, and if you finish, we move on. You will have a chance to sum up. Everyone
Okay.
should. Okay.
All right. Yes. Thank you.
You have. Okay. Thank you very much. I will ask first the licensing officer to sum up, please. Delia, you want to sum up?
No summing up.
Okay. And then the only people I have, I will ask them. I will ask Paula. Paula, do you want to sum up?
I think predominantly what I would like to leave you with is how do we as a family enjoy our home in private, peacefully and safely, in view of the hours and the constant business operating, you know, beside and underneath us.
Okay, thank you. And then the applicant, please, if you like to sum up.
Thank you, Madam. What I would say in summing up is that the application for the premises license can be granted with the conditions which are set out from on page 31, with the amendments that have been raised by me, and also with the amendments that I've discussed with the councillors in reference to the staff not congregating or loitering or smoking in the rear courtyard or rear alley access to the courtyard, to avoid any doubt. That the use of the rear courtyard and to that end, obviously the alley, the rear alley access to the courtyard shall only be by staff. Taking all those conditions together with the additional condition that I proposed, that alcohol will only be supplied for consumption on the premises to persons seated at a table by waiting staff. Taking all those together, it's my submission that the licensing objectives are promoted. The premises already has authority to operate as a cafe. This issue is solely to deal with the alcohol. In respect of the WC facility, we've indicated that will be moved in line with the plan. Should the committee feel that it's appropriate to add a precondition, a works condition, then that can be added, requiring the WC to be moved and for notice to be provided to the environmental health or licensing officer so that they can sign off the premises that we've completed in accordance with the plans. On that basis, Madam, I would commend the application to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time, and I would like to ask you to leave us now, and the committee, we're going to deliberate and make a decision. And as I said at the beginning, you have our decision within 5 working days. Thank you again very much for joining us tonight, and have a good evening.
Chair, sorry, before we end, a couple of hands have been raised. We are at the end of the process, so we might have to check what the hands are for.
Those hands have been up for some time, I think.
Mine's a new one.
Paula, is that Paula?
Yes.
But we finished, Paula, you sum
Yes,
up.
I do, but it was just something, if I may, Madam Chairman. Mr. Sutherland didn't mention anything about the going back to the fire risk, and I'm a little bit confused as to whose responsibility that is.
The committee we're going to have a discussion, and we'll look at all the recommendations, and we'll come to a decision.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your time this evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you.
I'll say good night.